started to.
Okay, sounds good.
His Grace Sarva-drik Prabhu is disciple of Srila Prabhupada, joined in Portland, Oregon, ISKCON, 1973. His Grace Dena Bandhu Prabhu was the temple president at that time and instrumental in bringing him to the shelter of Srila Prabhupada. What a speech in that year. And since that, Prabhu has worked in various capacities in ISKCON as vice president, head pujari, head cook, new bhakta leader, congregational preacher. And both of them used to be in North Carolina. Now, they used to engage the Bhakti Vriksha program, prison preaching. In November 2018, Prabhu and Mataji moved to Sridham, Mayapur. Now engaged in preaching in Uttar Pradesh and Haryana and other places, pushing on the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movements. Thank you so much, Prabhu. You can start.
Thank you, Prabhu, for your introduction. So before speaking, I offer my obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shundavadi Pastatya Deshata He Guru Gyanadadini Bandhu Swanandadata Kurunayaka Sindho Vrindavanasi Nihita Vatara Prasida Radha Prachara Nama Shishtam Manumapi Sachiputram Atrasvarupam Rupam Tasyaga Jamurapari Madhavim Vishtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaram Mohan Rajakamal Vasam Bhaktayasya Pratipakaya Shrividam Sanyakasam Vande Nanta Advitashayam Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Nichopi Prasadat Sadbhakti Shastra Nityanandamaham Nami Sarvananda Param Harinama Param Krishna Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasa Gaur Bhakti Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. I beg to offer my obeisances to all of you, also the wonderful Vaishnavas participating in this online meeting. Vansha Kopartabhuscha Kripa Sindhu Deva Chapati Tanam Padmatu Vaishnava. So the topic I've been given to speak on this afternoon, my afternoon, your morning, is the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhadra Purnima. So Bhagavatam is none different from Krishna himself. We read in Bhagavatam Nama Purana Brahma Samitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan. That this Bhagavatam is Brahma Samitam. It's completely pure spiritual substance. We can say Bhagavatam is an incarnation of the Lord, avatar of the Lord, in the form of paper and ink avatar. Just like the Lord appears Archa avatar, the form of the deity everyone knows. Deity is made of stone, of wood, of metal, of paint, jewels, mind. Gopis made deity out of sand on the bank of Jamuna. So deity can be formed in any way. So this Bhagavatam is not different from Krishna. Avatar of the Lord in paper and ink. And it gives us real substance to discuss. And this topic of discussion, important topic of discussion, is the purpose of the human form of life. In non-devotee life, Bhagavatam says, Shota Gada Nirajendra, Ninam Shanti Sahasrasa Apashyatam Atma Tattvam Viheshu Grihamedinam. They have thousands and thousands of things to discuss. They talk about their dog, especially those devotees that may be in office type situation or social situation with your neighbors, non-devotee type people. They have thousands of things to talk about. They want to talk about their dog, their cat, their yard, their garden, their work, their car, their boyfriend, their girlfriend, their husband, their wife, their kids, what movie they saw, what they eat, where they went on vacation. They have so many things to talk about. Why? Because they're devoid of Atma Tattva, knowledge of the self. persons who are conversant with Atma Tattva, who understand what is the self, have many things to talk about also, but they're all in relationship with Krishna. And that is Srimad Bhagavatam. Because hearing Srimad Bhagavatam causes the repeated birth and death in this world to cease. Bhagavatam says, Ayur harati vaikum sam udyanastam chayanas uttama shloka. What is that? Uttama shloka vartaya. That Bhagavatam ceases the process of death, and with every rising and setting of the sun, our life is diminished. But not so for those people who hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the process of hearing about the Lord is the cause of our cessation of repeated birth and death. And Bhagavatam, if we remember, is so important that when it was announced, when it was decided, when all the sages were consulted, what should Maharaj Parikshit do? Now he's Mriyamananam. He's on the verge of death. So what is his duty? And many different suggestions were there. But ultimately, it was decided that he should hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And 1,000 sages came to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. From all over the universe, they came to hear. And this Bhagavatam that was composed by Vedavyas came at a very important juncture in his life. He was feeling despondent, he's feeling depressed, that I've given whole Upanishads, Brahma Sutra, 18 Puranas, Mahabharata, 4 Vedas. He gave Veda, then he divided Veda. He made such an astonishing contribution to human society, but still, he's not feeling happy. He's feeling despondent, and he can't understand why. So his Guru Maharaj, Narad Muni, appears in the scene and explains to him that you're feeling like this because you failed to glorify the activities of the all-good Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. So if this is Veda Vyasa's situation, what is our situation? Why do we sometimes feel despondent? Why do we not feel enlivened in spiritual life? Because we fail to dive into Srimad Bhagavatam, to study Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is not recreational reading. Oh, I've got half an hour. Let me read a little bit before I go to bed. We should study Bhagavatam. We should fix our mind. We should visualize Bhagavatam. Fix our mind to understand that 1,000 sages from all over the universe came to hear Srimad Bhagavatam from the mouth of Shukadeva Goswami. There's a list in Bhagavatam in the first canto. Different sages from all over the universe arrived. And the list is there. Atri, Chavan, Sharadvan, Arishtanemi, Bhrigu, Vasishta, Parashara, Vishwamrita, Angira, Parashuram, Utatya, Indrapramada, Idmavaha, Medatiti, Devala, Arishtasena, Bharadwaj, Gautama, Pipalada, Maitreya, Aurava, Kavasa, Kumbhayoni, Vaipayana, and last but not least, the great personality Narada. And several hundred other sages all came to hear Srimad Bhagavatam because they understood the value, the effect of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. They're already liberated persons. Remember this, these 1,000 sages that came to hear Bhagavatam were already liberated persons. So why do they want to hear Bhagavatam? To become liberated? No, to develop love of God. Love of God, hearing Bhagavatam, the effect of hearing Bhagavatam is love of God. And Srila Prabhupada writes a very beautiful purport. I copied it here. We can be benefited by hearing this verse from the 5th canto, chapter 18, text 11. Yat sangalabdham nijavirya vaibhavam tirtam mahu samprashatam himanasam paratya jonta shuti virgaton gajam hovaina sevete mukunda vikramam. Translation: by associating with persons for whom the Supreme Personality of Godhead Mukunda is the all in all. One can hear of his powerful activities and soon come to understand them. The activities of Mukunda are so potent that simply by hearing of them, one immediately associates with the Lord. I'll repeat that. The activities of Mukunda are so potent that simply by hearing of them, one immediately associates with the Lord. For a person who constantly and very eagerly hears the narrations of the Lord's powerful activities, the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead in the form of sound vibrations enters within his heart and cleanses it of all contamination. On the other hand, although bathing in the Ganges diminishes bodily contaminations and infections, this process and the process of visiting holy places can cleanse the heart only after a long time. Therefore, who is the sane man who will not associate with devotees to quickly perfect his life? So in the word for a translation, is mentioned here, manasam. The dirty things in the heart, harati. Manasam, harati. Hearing Bhagavatam vanquishes all the dirty things in our heart. And we read this also in the first canto of Bhagavatam. Shrindvatam swakata Krishna punya shavana kirtana hridyantastoya badrani vidunoti suritsatam. The Shrindvatam, hearing what? Swakata, the kata, the topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What is the effect? Hridyantastoya badrani. Hridyantasta means what is in our heart. Abhadrani. Abhadrani means lust, greed, anger, fear, malice, animosity. Many unhappy things live in our heart. This is what it means to be a conditioned soul. We all have the same problem. We all have the same disease. And the prescription, the panacea for that disease is to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, to hear the Katha about Krishna. And many wonderful things happen when we hear Srimad Bhagavatam. The first thing is that we become knowledgeable. Because if we don't know anything about Krishna, if we've never heard his pastimes, how will we fix our mind? And this is his prescription in Bhagavad Gita. He says, Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyajimam namastu. That manmana, first thing, fix your mind on me. But if we never hear anything about Krishna, about his wonderful pastimes, his amazing, heart-melting, wonderful, heroic pastimes, how will we think of him? So the first effect of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is that we develop knowledge about the personality of Godhead. That knowledge is an extraordinary feature of Vaishnavism. Other religions believe that God is a person, but they have no specific information about that personality. Ask them. Ask any Christian, you believe God is a person? Sure, God's a person. Well, and they'll say, well, Jesus is his father, Jesus is the son, but tell us about the Father. Where does he live? What does he eat? What does he wear? Who are his friends? What does he do? They have no specific information. I mean, if there's God, he's a person. Persons wear clothes. Does God wear clothes, or is he naked? If he wears clothes, what kind of clothes does he wear? Persons eat food. They enjoy eating. Is God starving? Or does he eat food? If he eats food, what kind of food? What kind of delicious food does God eat? Persons have a place to live. What kind of place does God have to live? Is he some street urchin? Some beggar on the street with a shopping cart, with a shopping cart full of his stuff, pushing it down the street? What kind of place does he have to live? Who are his friends? Is he up there in the spiritual world, in Vaikuntha, and no one likes him? He's up there all by himself, lonely? What kind of friends does he have? They don't know what God eats, what he likes to eat, what he wears, what kind of abode he lives in, who are his friends. They have no specific information about the personality of Godhead because they've never read Srimad Bhagavatam. It describes the amazing personal features of the Lord. So hearing that, just by hearing that, removes all inauspicious things from within our heart. This is the second installment of mercy we get from Srimad Bhagavatam. Again, first installment, we become knowledgeable about the personality of God. The second installment, just that when that sound vibration enters our heart, it changes the quality of our life, the quality of our consciousness by sound. Bhagavatam says, Pravishtakana Randrena Swanam Bhava Sororuham Gunoti Shamalam Krishna Salilasya Yatashara. Pravishtakana Randrena means through our ear. People want to see God. They challenge, if there is a God, show him to me. Our response is, are you qualified? Our first response is, are you qualified? Can you just go see the Prime Minister of India or the President of the United States? Can you just walk into his office, hey, Nagendra. Huh? Narendra, not Nagendra. Narendra. Hey, Narendra, you and me. Let's go have masala dosa. Can you walk into his office? Can you walk into Putin's office or Biden's office? They're very, in the material world, as the more powerful a person becomes, the harder it is to see them. It's impossible to see them. But we can see Krishna by his mercy through our ear. We have to qualify ourselves to see Krishna by our ear. He can be seen. Premanjana charita bhakti vilochanena santak sadaiva pradiyesha vilokayanti yam shama sundaram achintya guna swarupam govindamari purusham tam mahamadam. These saints, santa sadaiva pradiyesha, they're always seeing Krishna eye to eye, face to face. Where? Hridayeshu, within the core of their heart. Because they've qualified themselves by prema, premanjana charita. They anointed their eye with the salve of love. Therefore, they can see Krishna. He can be seen. He's not invisible. He wants us to see him, but do we want to see him? If we want to see Krishna, we pour these sound vibration, Parishtakana Randrena, through our karna, through our ear. And when it enters our ear, Swanam Bhava Surorubham, and sits in the lotus flower of our loving relationship, that cleanses Shalilasya Yatashara. It cleanses all inauspicious things from our heart. Oh, the lust, the greed, the anger, the envy. And this is a process. This is another important thing to understand. Is that this is a process. Sadhana is a process. It's not that, well, I read Srimad Bhagavatam for an hour yesterday. Why am I still feeling angry? Why lust is there? Why greed is there? Why envy is still there? It's a process. It's a lifelong process. But this is the medicine. To hear about Krishna, to hear his name, to remember his form, his pastimes, his lila, his activities, his associates, his relationships, to hear everything about Krishna, everything Krishna related. And that cleanses the heart from all inauspicious things, once and for all. In the Srimad Bhagavat, and Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport to this verse, he gives the example of the autumn bodies of water. In the autumn, because the autumn rain removes the mud, it cleanses the mud from the bodies of water. Or Prabhupada gives the example of adding some chemical constituent to the water, and it causes the suspended particles of dirt to precipitate to the bottom of the container. But because it's still there, a little agitation, and again the water becomes muddy. So there's a nice story in Bhagavatam where, after hearing the description of the hellish planets in the 5th canto of Bhagavatam, Maharaj Parikshit, being a compassionate Vaishnava, asked Shukadeva Goswami, what can be done to save people from such hellish existence? So Shukadeva Goswami proposes, Tapasa brahmacharjena samena cha damena cha chagena satyaso chabhyam yamena niyamena va. Says it practice austerity, celibacy, cleanliness, non-violence, tirtha yatra. He gives a list of things that you can do to remove the effect of sinful life, to become free from sin. But Maharaj Parikshit, being a very thoughtful Vaishnava, he countered that this appears to me to be the bathing of an elephant. That elephant goes and gets in the water and he sprays himself with water, and they love playing in water actually, and becomes very clean. But what does he do when he comes out on the land? What is the first thing he does? He takes dirt and he sprays it all over his body. He throws dirt all over his body. So he says, Maharaj Parikshit, I think this process is like Kunjara Sochara, the bathing of an elephant. So tell me more. So then Maharaj Shukadev Goswami speaks very important verse. He said, Kechit Kevalaya Bhaktya Vasideva Parayana Agam Dunvanti Karsneya Niharam Iva Vaskara. He said, Kechit, some very, very few fortunate people take to what? Kevala Bhakti, the process of pure devotional service. Because this process removes the dirt from the heart. It removes the mud from the water. Because as long as the mud is there in the water, the slightest agitation in the mud, the clear water becomes muddy again because the dirt is still present. So same thing. As long as the desire for sinful life exists in our heart, then we're always in danger of falling down. But the process of bhakti cleanses the desire for sinful life. An example is given in this discussion of a forest. A fire may come through and burn the forest to ashes, forest fire. The whole forest burns to ashes, all the trees become ashes. But when the forest fire is extinguished by the rain, and in course of time, everything grows back because the root is still present. So bhakti is so powerful that agam dunvanti kartsneha niharam eva vaskara, that it removes the desire for sinful life from within our heart. Our heart becomes clean. And what is the symptom? The next verse in this Bhagavatam, series of verses from Bhagavatam, explains, Dotatma Purusha Krishna, Padamulam Namunchati, Mukta Sarva Pariklesha, Panta Swasharanam Yata. That when a person is actually Dotatma means purified in heart, when the dust, the dirt has been removed from our heart, Padamulam Namunchati, he'll never ever think of giving up anything Krishna related. He's come to the stage of complete nishta. And this is required in our progress of spiritual life. Bhagavad Gita tells us, Yesham antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvanda moha nirmukta bhajanti mam dredavataha. Unless we become free from sin, antagatam papam, unless we become free from the desire for sinful life, we can't be fixed, dredavrata, nishta. And without nishta, we can't go to a higher stage of asakti, bhava, prema. We have to go through the stage of dealing with the dirt in our heart, and the means is to hear about Krishna. Vishta karna randraina, to let that sound enter our heart. Because all the miseries we experience in the material world are due to unclean heart. And they're removed by the process of hearing this Krishna Katha. And the miseries we experience, explained in Bhagavatam, anarthu pashamam sakshad, bhakti yoga madhuk sajay, lokasya janato vidvams chakre sattvata samhitam. The Bhagavatam explains that the miseries of life, birth, death, old age, disease, are superfluous. They're anarthas, they're unwanted external things from the point of view of the soul, the Atma, our real self. Not our bodily identification, but our real self as Atma. The miseries of material life are superfluous, but Janato Vidyams Chakra Sattvadas. Ajanato, people don't know this. The most simple thing, they don't understand themselves because they haven't read Srimad Bhagavatam, they haven't heard Srimad Bhagavatam. So Chakra Sattvata Samhitam, that Srila Vyasadeva, incarnation of the Lord, compiled Bhagavatam to help people understand who they are, what is the objective of life, and understand that we're all Maharaj Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit was fortunate to know that in 1 week, I have to leave this world. We don't know if we have 7 minutes, 7 weeks, 7 months, 7 years, 70 years. We have no idea. Maharaj Parikshit was very fortunate to know I've got 7 days. And he sat down on the bank of Ganga and heard Srimad Bhagavatam. So we're all Maharaj Parikshit because Miyamananam, we're all on the verge of death. So what to do? Srimad Bhagavatam came out from this one word. What is the duty of a person who's on the verge of death? And that duty is to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, to cleanse our heart and awaken love of God within our heart. Now in this purport, let me find that purport. In the purport to the verse I was just reading, Srila Prabhupada writes very beautifully, bathing in the Ganges can certainly cure one of many infectious diseases, but it cannot cleanse one's materially attached mind, which creates all kinds of contaminations in material existence. However, one who directly associates with the Supreme Lord by hearing his activities cleanses the dirt from his mind and very soon comes to Krishna consciousness. The Supreme Lord within everyone's heart becomes very pleased when a person hears narrations of his activities and he personally cleanses the dirt from the mind of the listener. Hridyantasto yabhadrani vidunoti. He washes off all dirt from the mind. Material existence is caused by dirty things within the mind. If one can cleanse his mind, he immediately comes to his original position of Krishna consciousness. And thus his life becomes successful. Therefore, all saints in the devotional line very strongly recommend this process of hearing. All the great acharyas strongly recommend that people be given a chance to hear about the Supreme Lord. Then success is assured. The more we cleanse the dirt and material attachment from our hearts, the more we'll become attracted by Krishna's name, form, qualities, paraphernalia, and activities. This is the sum and substance of the Krishna consciousness movement. So Srila Prabhupada mentions in this purport the third installment of mercy we get from hearing. First, we become knowledgeable. Second, by hearing, we cleanse the dirt from our heart. We lose affinity for matter. We lose the desire to enjoy material sense gratification. We lose envy. We lose fear. We lose all these inauspicious things on our heart of Bhadrani. Second installment. Third installment, and most important, Prabhupada mentions here, that the Lord personally cleanses the dirt from the mind of the listener. In other words, Krishna, when he hears that his devotee wants to hear about him, when he sees my devotee wants me, he's interested in me, he approaches us, he helps us, he gives us all facility. He enlightens us from within our heart. We read in Bhagavad Gita, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam jainamam upayanti te. Tesham evanu kampartam agyana jam tama nasham yatma bhavasto jnana dipena bhasvata. Lord says, to those who are constantly engaged in my service with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. I, dwelling within their heart, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. This, in a nutshell, is the essence of what we get by hearing about Krishna. That Krishna himself takes an interest. Says, Dadami buddhi yogam tam, then I give you the understanding by which you can come to me. It's not a fruit you can pick off a tree. It's not something you can get. You dial into Amazon.in, Amazon.com, and just order Krishna Bhakti? Can you order pure devotional service on the internet? Can you go to the bazaar, you go to the mall? Can you pick it off a tree? We get it by hearing about Krishna. Because Krishna becomes attracted to his devotee. He helps the devotee. He blesses the devotee who takes interest in him by hearing. This is the most important thing. Tesham dadami buddhiyogamtam jaina mam upayantite. Mam upayanti means how to come back to him. And this is why are we practicing sadhana? Why do we chant? Why do we worship? Why do we read? Why do we donate? Why do we go to the temple? Why do we do obeisances? Why do we serve Vaishnavas? Because mam upayanti, we want to go back to Krishna. This is the process. Tesham satata yuktanam, being constantly engaged in his service. How? Bhajatam priti, with love. Because he doesn't need our service. Lakshmi sahasrasata sambrama siddhyamanam govindam adipurisham tamahamata. That he is being served by lakhs and crores of goddesses of fortune. Does he need our patram pushpam palam toyam? Does he need our dupam, deepam, naivedyam? He doesn't need it. He's being served by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. But when we give something with love, when we give with priti, when we give with love, then he is very pleased to accept that. Duryodhan approached the Lord and said, come to my palace. I'll give you chop and bow. I am the great Duryodhan and I will feed you, Krishna. Krishna said, no, you don't love me and I'm not hungry. Goodbye. But when he came to the doorstep of Vidura, and Vidura's wife opened the door and saw the Lord standing there out of love and affection, out of bhava. She's peeling a banana and giving Krishna the peel and throwing the banana, and Krishna's chewing on that peel out of love. Eshe premi pujari radhi sham sham sham. Lord is worshipped by prema, by love, by bhava. It's not the patram, the pushpam, palam, the toyam, the leaf, flower, water, the fruit, but it's yome bhaktya parachyati. That we serve him with love, we offer something to him with love. This is the whole process of approaching Krishna. Because when he sees that, he comes to us, he picks us up. This is the power of bhakti. Ramanujacharya asked his disciples once, so what is better, the way that a cat picks up its kitten or the way that a monkey carries its baby, the baby monkey? Devotee said, what do you mean? He said, no, the cat is picking up the kitten and moving it with love. And the baby monkey has to hold on to the mother for dear life. The mother is jumping from tree to tree, branch to branch. And the baby is quite fearful that I may fall off. He's holding like anything onto the body of the mother that it not fall down. This is jnana. Jnana cannot deliver us. Bahunam janmanamante jnanamam bravaditi. Vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sadulama. Someone who's jnanavan, who surrenders to Krishna, becomes a bhakta, who is picked up by Krishna, who's embraced by Krishna, who's delivered by Krishna, is superior to millions of jnanis. Because he's jnanavan. He knows that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that by hearing about him, by serving him, by worshiping him, that Krishna approaches us. And this is the power of bhakti. This is the extraordinary power of bhakti. This is why bhakti is the topmost system of self-realization. Not jnana, not karma, not yoga, but bhakti. Nasteva, nasteva, nasteva. Not jnana, not karma, not yoga, only bhakti. Krishna says, 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktya tanandaya shakya aham vidam vidorjana gyatum drashtum chatatvina pravishtam cha parantapa. It's only by bhakti, ananyaya bhakti, can I be known. By ananya bhakti, you can know me, gyatum, you can know me, drashtum, you can see me eye to eye and face to face. This is the power of bhakti, that the infinitesimal jiva soul the tiny, insignificant speck of dust, jiva soul, controls the infinite Lord by bhakti. Lord, he becomes servant of his devotee. Nanda Godana Rakoala. Krishna is taking care of 9 lakhs of Nanda Maharaj's cows. He says to Mother Yashoda, Yashoda Maya. Now he wouldn't call Yashoda Maya. Yashoda, what can your Krishna do? So Yashoda Maya says to Krishna, Krishna, you go get your father's shoes. And Krishna is placing his father's shoes on his head, and he's bringing and placing his shoes in front of his father's feet. Here are your shoes, Father. He's becoming servant of his devotees. He's Parthasarathi, becoming the chariot driver of Arjuna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would garland the devotees and put chandan on their forehead, and being the omniscient supreme Paramatma, omniscient Lord within the heart of every devotee, when he served prasadam with his own hand to the devotees. You know, oh, this devotee loves sweet, take more sweet. This devotee likes fried, take more fried. This devotee likes sabji, take more sabji, take more sweet rice. Serving the devotee, Krishna becomes the servant of his devotee by bhakti. Not by jnana, not by yoga, not by karma, only by bhakti. So how do we get that bhakti? By hearing. The next verse says, Bhakti upadyate pumsa shoka moha bhayapaha. That by hearing about Krishna, that shoka, moha, and bhaya, apaha, are extinguished. Shoka means lamentation. Moha, illusion. Fear, bhaya, or apaha, extinguished. And bhakti utpadyate pumsa. That bhakti rises up in the heart just by the process of hearing Bhagavatam. Bhakti rises in our heart. The extinguishing of shoka, moha, and bhaya is side benefit. If you have $100 in your pocket, all your $1 problems are solved. So these are $1 problems, shoka, moha, bhaya. They're also solved, but the real effect of hearing Bhagavatam is that bhakti utpadyate pumsam, that bhakti rises up in the heart. We develop love of God just by the process of hearing. Hearing is so powerful. Hearing is so potent. But these other things are also great because love of God can't exist where shoka, moha, bhaya are there. Shoka means lamentation. And bhakti begins. Brahmabhuta prasanatmana sochatina kankshati samasavesha bhuteshu mad bhaktin labate param. Bhakti, we have to cross beyond the constrict of the material conception of life. This means Brahmabhuta. Brahmabhuta means understanding I have nothing to do whatsoever with this material world. I'm not this lump of flesh, bones and skin and fat and hair and blood and sinew, brain, heart, lung, kidney, spleen, liver, intestine, stomach. What part of that is me? What part of that is me? That we haven't understood. Spiritual life begins with this understanding, Brahmabhuta. And what is the effect? Prasanatma. We become happy. Prasanatma means happy soul. Na sochati na kankshati. I don't lament over any loss. I'm not overwhelmed by desire for material gain. Samasaveshu bhuteshu. I'm equal to every living being. The whole world is my friend. Mad bhaktin labate param. From that stage, bhakti begins. Bhakti begins from this, Brahmabhuta. And from there we make progress. So, shoka, moha, bhayapaha. No lamentation when we come to the spiritual plane, and no moha. What does moha mean? I am this body. I am this lump of flesh. It's me. I'm tall. I'm short, skinny, fat, tall, short. A man, woman, Indian, Chinese, European, American, young, old. These are all upadhis, designations, and spiritual life begins. Bhakti begins. The first proposition of bhakti is Sarva upadi vinirmuktam tatparatena nirmalam. Vishikesha vishikena sevanam. Bhakti uchate. Bhakti begins when we become free from the upadis, designations. Nirmal, we become pure. Sama means we think I'm this body. I am an American. I am an Indian. I weigh 70 kgs. I am 60 years old. I'm a man. I'm a woman. I'm smart. I'm dumb, weak, strong, black, white, yellow, brown. These are all upad. We reject this. Want us to be nirmal, free from this. Brahma Bhuta. And this all happens by hearing. Simply by hearing. This is a power of hearing Krishna Katha. Shanvatam, probably quoted the verse in the purport here. Shanvatam. Redyantastu Bhadrani Vidunoti Saratsatam. So all Abhadranis, Abhadrani, Upadi, means the same thing. We become free from all of those just by the process of hearing. And there's a beautiful verse in Bhagavatam that gives us hope, because this world is a place where we become aggrieved by many different things. When a beloved friend or family member dies, we become aggrieved. When there's a loss in business, we become aggrieved. When our health deteriorates, we become aggrieved. When someone mistreats us, we become aggrieved. When there's some accident, we become aggrieved. Many things cause us grief in this material world, but there's a remedy for that also. Bhagavatam explains, Tavakatamritam tapta jivanam, kavibiriditam kalmasapaham, Shamanamangalam Shimaratatam Bhuvigunantiye Buridhajana. That this Tavakata, the Gopi spoke, this is the first verse of Gopi Geet, Shrimad Bhagavatam, 31st chapter of Bhagavatam. The Gopi spoke this beautiful verse. Tavakata amritam, that the amrit of your katha, the topics of your discussion, are tapta jivanam. They remove the grief from this world. People are aggrieved in this world. They want to show society a happy face. But people are suffering in this world more and more. As Kali Yuga progresses, people will suffer more and more and more. They become more and more aggrieved, grief-stricken by disappointment. And that grief is mitigated by hearing Tavakatam Tapta Jivanam Kavibiriditam. Kavibiriditam means that who is giving this knowledge? Who is appreciating it? Kavibi, great thinkers, devotees. Not everyone. We've distributed, I think, 260 million books all over the world. But who is appreciating? Only most fortunate, thoughtful people. Kavibi Iritam. Because this Bhagavatam is meant to create a revolution in the impious lives of today's misdirected civilization. Tadvag Visargo Jandataga Biplavo. It's meant to create revolution, to appeal to thoughtful people, to change the way that people live. It's for Kavibi. And Kalmasapaham. Kalmasapaham means it drives away sinful life. Sinful life can't stay, just as in Krishna Leela. All the demons the sinful demons of Keshi, Arista, Aga, Putana, Joma, all the different demons of Braj Leela are eradicated by Krishna. Kalmasapaham, all these sinful elements of life in our own heart and in society are eradicated by the distribution of Srimad Bhagavatam. Shabana Mangalam creates all auspicious nature. All auspicity is created just by hearing. Shanvatam Swakata Punya Shravana Kirtana. Punya Shravana. One becomes pious just by hearing. One becomes auspicious. One's life becomes auspicious just by hearing. Shravana Mangalam and Shrimad-Atatam is full of all spiritual power. The exact translation in this verse is, the nectar of your words and the descriptions of your activities are the life and soul of those suffering in the material world. These narrations transmitted by learned sages eradicate one's sinful reactions and bestow good fortune upon whoever hears them. These narrations are broadcast all over the world and are filled with spiritual power. Certainly those who spread the message of Godhead are most munificent. So how munificent is Srila Prabhupada, who spread the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, who came single-handedly with nothing, no financial support, no one to cook for him, no one to do his laundry, no one to serve him, no money in his pocket. He had 40 rupees that you can't even spend in New York City. And what's 40 rupees in New York City? Even at that time, exchange rate was probably 6 rupees to the dollar. What can you do with 40 rupees? No support. He offered Captain Pandya a Bhagavatam just to have some pocket money. And he asked Prabhupada how much. Prabhupada said, I think $15. He gave Prabhupada $20. Prabhupada came to America with $20 US in his pocket and Srimad Bhagavatam. And the order of the spiritual master, Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekehat guru nandana, one fixed determination. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that the meaning of this verse, the purport of this verse is that a devotee takes the order of his spiritual master as his life and soul. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur instructed Srila Prabhupada that you print books and you go to the Western world and preach. And how did he do it? He brought Bhagavatam with him. He distributed Srimad Bhagavatam to create a revolution in the impious lives of a misdirected civilization. This is Prabhupada. Because just by this hearing, Yasyam Vai, Shreyamanayam, Krishna Parama Purushe, to hear about Krishna, the Paramam Purush, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhakti Upadhyate Pumsa, Shoka Moha Bhayapa. That bhakti becomes possible for even the most low-class people. Prabhupada came to give the highest conception of life, the highest conception of the personality of God, the irreducible highest conception of the Supreme Lord to the lowest class of people. On the Bowery, Lower East Side of New York City, with the drunks and the prostitutes and the drug addicts and the thieves and the gundas, the rascals, to the lowest class of people, Prabhupada gave the highest thing. How is it possible? Only by the mercy of the Lord, only by the mercy of Srimad Bhagavatam, because he came to give him this highest thing. He didn't bring an entourage of people to serve him. He didn't bring money with him. He didn't bring anything. He brought Bhagavatam to America, and he conquered the whole world with Bhagavatam. So we should take note of this. What is the effect of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam? That all inauspicious things in our heart, all anarthas, become cleansed just by hearing Pravishtakana Randrena, by letting this sound vibration enter our ear, to hear Srimad Bhagavatam and distribute the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. How to get mercy from Bhagavatam also? Distribute message of Bhagavatam. To give this same priceless knowledge that we've somehow or other come in contact with by the grace of God, by the grace of Guru. Somehow or other, we've come in contact with this. So what is our duty? Our duty is to distribute the same thing to other people. As we've been blessed, we should do the same thing for other people. This is the responsibility of a person who's heard Srimad Bhagavatam, is to distribute Srimad Bhagavatam, to give the same knowledge that we've been blessed to hear. This is Bhuvi Garantiye Burida Jana, to be Burida. Burida means most beneficent, Janaha, most beneficent person does what? He distributes the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. So how magnificent was Srila Prabhupada? We can't imagine how much blessing he had. to distribute Srimad Bhagavatam, to bring Bhagavatam to America and distribute it all over the world. Inconceivable power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was invested in Srila Prabhupada. No one else could have done what Prabhupada did. Prabhupada had many exalted godbrothers, but none of them could have done what Prabhupada did. And someone may ask, well, why did Prabhupada have to struggle so much to distribute Srimad Bhagavatam? The answer is that all credit came to Prabhupada because no one else helped him. So he was the singular object of mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and single-handedly introduced Srimad Bhagavatam to the world. Why are we reading Bhagavatam in all different languages of the world? 80 some odd different languages that you can read Prabhupada's books in Swahili and Korean. In Arabic, you can read Prabhupada's books. In all languages, major languages of the world, you can read Prabhupada's books. This is inconceivable power of Prabhupada's munificent activity of preaching Bhagavatam and distributing Bhagavatam to the world. To anarthopasamam sakshat, to remove the anarthas of life, to create auspicity in people's lives, to introduce the personality of Godhead. This is only possible by personality of the caliber of Srila Prabhupada, who gave Bhagavatam to the world. So how can we talk about Bhagavatam? How can we talk about Bhadra Purnima, the auspicious day of distributing Bhagavatam, without understanding how much Srila Prabhupada distributed Bhagavatam all over the world? This is his inconceivable, his topmost munificence to the world, to distribute Bhagavatam and bless the world. So when we read Bhagavatam, we should visualize, we should hear, we should study, we should visualize Bhagavatam. One great devotee was asked, what is your experience of Srimad Bhagavatam? When you hear Bhagavatam, do you see Bhagavatam? Do you visualize? He says, not just hear. I see, I hear, I smell, I touch, I hear everything. Bhagavatam, Leela, he enters Leela. And this is possible in the advanced stages of devotional life. To experience Leela just by the process of hearing and remembering. To enter into Leela by the process of hearing. This is the ultimate understanding of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. But for us, let us hear Bhagavatam every day. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi. That's given to us by the Supreme Lord himself, Bina Vyas, and make progress. And make progress in spiritual life. What else is there to do? What is our real business in life? It's to hear Bhagavatam in this way. So what is our schedule? I think 1 hour, Prabhuji? Krishnanam Ananda Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Until 9.
Okay, so I want to leave some time if anyone has any discussion, any additions, some questions, some doubt, anything else that wants to come up.
Thank you so much, Sarva-drik Prabhu, for wonderful, amazing glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. Dear devotees, anyone has questions, please raise your hand, put in chat.
Amritanand Prabhu.
Go ahead, Amritam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisance, all glory to Srila Prabhupada.
I accept my obeisances, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. That was very informative. My question is, it is said that Srimad Bhagavatam is the Amala Purana, spotless Purana, stories about Krishna and his associates. Now, Krishna we know is pure. So why isn't it that Bhagavad Gita, when Chaitanya Charitamrita is considered Amala Purana?
Why is it considered? I'm not sure I understand your question.
Why is it that Bhagavad Gita or Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is Bhagavad Gita is what Krishna has spoken, and similarly Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's about the pastimes of Lord Mahaprabhu and why isn't that considered Amala, and it's only the Bhagavatam is spotless.
It's also Amala Purana, but relative Amala Purana. Just like if I say, mango is the most delicious fruit. That doesn't mean that watermelon is not delicious. Watermelon, someone might think, oh, watermelon is most delicious. Someone might say apple is most delicious. They're all delicious fruits, but relative. So Bhagavatam is saying this is Amala Purana, spotless Purana, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Leela is no less spotless because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is no different than the Lord. He's Swayam Prakash Roop. He's directly Krishna. He's not avatar of Krishna. He's Swayam Prakash Roop, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna directly. So his Leela, we find that Chaitanya Charitamrita is also Amala Purana. Bhagavad Gita is Amala Purana, but relative. This is the ABC of spiritual life. And Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita are XYZ of spiritual life. So Bhagavatam doesn't just mean 10th canto Bhagavatam, Krishna Leela. But we understand Bhagavatam from first canto of Bhagavatam. First canto of Bhagavatam is likened to the Lord's lotus feet, and 10th canto is like his smiling face. 11th canto is also Bhagavad Gita restated in amazing depth in Uddhava Gita, where Krishna restated Bhagavad Gita to Uddhava in greater depths. So this is also Amala Purana. Is that helpful to you, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu. Nicely explained. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your nice question, Prabhuji.
Anyone else? Questions?
I have a question for you.
Go ahead, Prabhu.
If someone could explain to me your New Jersey Sanghas, there are all these temples. I get completely confused. What temple is where and how many Sanghas are going on, how many temples are being built. I can't keep track.
We are from ISKCON of Central New Jersey. So in this area, we have our temple is the most vibrant, and around 300 devotees attend on Sunday feast class. We started the movement here in after 2004. Then there is another temple, Tobacco, North Jersey, which is 20 miles or so.
Okay, I've been to Tobacco Temple before.
Yeah, that started in 85 or 1980 something. And then we have Brooklyn, which Prabhupada's time is some other place, but it's Brooklyn is there, and Bhakti Center is there. So we have 4 or 5 temples here, and then we have Philadelphia, which is close by, which Prabhupada established. Prabhupada went there.
So it's your temple that was open maybe 4 or 5 years ago?
2004 we started, but the temple establishment, the church property was brought in 2014 in Plainfield. So
yes. Yeah, a friend of mine attended that temple opening. He was very, very inspired.
Okay.
He helped do all your flower decorations and everything.
Yeah. Is that
So you're doing wonderful service for Srila Prabhupada. So much preaching going on in the area.
Yes. So all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah, all glories to you. All of you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for wonderfully describing actual real glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. The way Prabhupada presented, quoting the verse and describing really nice. As we hear Prabhu speaking the first time when he met, he told, yes, who is this new Bhakta? His name is Swami. Said, so then the devotee said, he is new Bhakta. Oh. So he is Apasyatam Atmatattvam Gruheshu Gruhamedinam. So he will be called Atmatattva Das. So then he called, so this material world is infection. So you keep scratching, you think you'll get it, but you will stop. Not because you don't have more desires, because blood comes. So you stop. This is the purpose. As you quoted, I remembered immediately Atmatattva the past time.
Yeah, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur recognized Prabhupada from the first meeting. at Ultadanga. Prabhupada was, as a young man, 23 years old, just getting up off the floor, offering Dandavat to Saraswati Thakur. He wasn't even sitting up, and Saraswati Thakur said, "You're an educated young man. Please teach Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission in the English language." Prabhupada was shocked. But he was recognized from their first meeting. The whole future of his life began at that moment.
Yeah. Yes. Also, can you elaborate or explain or give some examples, some history from Srila Prabhupada, generally how important it is about hearing Srimad Bhagavatam in the morning, the morning program established by Srila Prabhupada, so that devotees can get benefit and become serious in this aspect.
Prabhupada crafted a sadhana that could be transplanted to any community in the world. And you go to any ISKCON temple in the world, it's the same. If you're in Nairobi, there's Mangal Arati at 4:30, there's Tulsi Puja, there's Japa, there's Guru Puja, and there's Bhagavatam class. And any temple, if you're in China, same thing. In Africa, same thing. In America, in India, Australia, Europe, same program everywhere. And this is created in this way for a purpose. To hear Bhagavatam, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, to hear not just temporarily, Bhagavat Sapta, but to hear every day. Because what is it? Nashta Prayesha Badreshu, all inauspicious things are removed just by hearing Bhagavatam. So a very important thing to hear every day. Now, many working devotees find it challenging to find time for full morning program. Especially if you're getting home from work at 10 o'clock at night, you're not going to bounce out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning. So one has to adjust his schedule accordingly. And this is a whole discussion about sadhana. But the principle is to adjust one's schedule so that sometime during the day, you hear Bhagavatam. Even if that means, if you're driving, where I was talking to some devotees yesterday, young couple, they just got married. They live in Punjabi Bagh, but they work in Noida. If you're familiar with the geography of Delhi, it's an hour and a half minimum, hour and 45 minimum drive. So I said, Prabhu, this is gold for you. This is your Bhagavatam class. You can hear Bhagavatam. Every day you have 3 hours driving time. You can hear Bhagavatam driving to work, driving back from work. You can immerse yourself in hearing Srimad Bhagavatam every day. So that's not the same as sitting in a temple room, a sanctified atmosphere and hearing Bhagavatam, but it's hearing. The point is we should make some facility somehow or other, some time or other every day to hear Bhagavatam. If it's not possible in the morning, do it in the evening, but sometime hear Bhagavatam.
Amritan Prabhu, go ahead. Here's another question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I have one more question, please.
Yes, Prabhu.
It may be a little personal, but it will help all sadhakas like us. Prabhu, you've been in the movement for several decades now. And we know that practicing Krishna consciousness, there are ups and downs. Sometimes there is a lot of ecstasy, and then there's also a lot of downs in this. So how is it, Prabhu, that you maintain a steady course? A sadhaka can maintain a steady course, whatever the journey brings. You stay at it. Of course, initiated, you've taken your vows, so that is one thing that keeps you going. But, temptations, frustrations, and all these downs, how do we stay the course? If you could please share something on that.
A very important question, Prabhu. What has maintained me is because whatever challenges I faced in my life, and there were many, I never gave up attachment to chanting Hare Krishna, to worshipping Shalagram Shila, and to try to read something, even a few paragraphs every day. And knowing that the hard times come and hard times go. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, Miche Mayar Boshe Jacha Beshe Kacha Habudububai. That sometimes we're riding in the crest of happiness, sometimes we're in the trough of distress, sometimes our sadhana is awful. Sometimes we feel happy, sometimes we feel sad. This is the play of the modes of material nature. We're not aloof. We're not aloof from the influence of the modes of material nature. We're not advanced devotees. I've been practicing since 1973. This year, or next year actually, next July, marks 50 years in devotional life. But I have this unbreakable vow that I'll never give up Krishna consciousness. I may be #1 rascal. There are times in my life I couldn't follow rules and regulations properly. I was working like a madman. I was working with a gemstone company. I had mustache for some time also. For a couple of years, I was working with gemstone company out of Jaipur, these Patterwalas out of Jaipur. Everyone had mustache, so I was wearing mustache. I was driving around the Midwest of America with $400,000 worth of gemstones in my car, eating in vegetarian restaurants as far as possible, living in motels and trying to do business, chasing dollars. Very downtime in my spiritual life. But I would do Shalagram Puja in the hotel. I'd chant japa best I could. I maintained my determination to never give up the process of Krishna consciousness, even though there was times when I was very staunch in my practice and times when I wasn't. But I never gave up the process of Krishna consciousness, the process of sadhana. Because sadhana means tamasima jyotirgamaya, to come from darkness to light. You don't immediately go. Sadhana doesn't mean you switch on the light and immediately there's light and Gaur Premananda. It doesn't happen like that. We struggle. The plateau of spiritual life is anartha nibriti. And this is where we spend time, most of our time, trying to overcome lust and greed and anger and fear, all negative qualities. And that has to come before we come to the stage of nishta. Without overcoming and passing through anartha nibriti, there's no nishta. So it's a struggle, and struggle means there's ups and downs. But I never thought for a moment, from the day I walked in the temple, practically speaking, I never thought for a moment to give up the process of Krishna consciousness. And that, whether you call it a blessing or determination or however you define it, defines my life. I'll never give up Krishna. Till last breath, I'll never give up Krishna consciousness. And however many lifetimes it takes to achieve the goal, to become pure devotee, to go back to God, and I'm willing to accept, but I'll never give up the process, Prabhu. And we should have that, at least have that determination. And that will help us cross over the hard times. Because this is the nature of the world. Matra sparshastu kontaya, sitoshna sukha dukkada, happiness and distress, honor, dishonor, winter and summer. This is the nature of the world. We can't change that. Just as sadhakas, we can't change the nature of the world. But we pass through the bad times, knowing that they're temporary. And there'll be good times. And when good times are there, we prepare ourselves as bad times must be coming. This is a world of duality. Let me tolerate tamsatiksha sabharata and go on in our spiritual life. And in that way, we make progress in spiritual. We have to have that much determination, at least. Dhrida vrata, determination. And we keep that, we nurture that in the association of devotees. And this is a reason for gatherings like this, internet gatherings. Not as good as personal gatherings, certainly, but to nurture, to associate, and get some inspiration for spiritual life. I mean, all of you, most from your names, I can understand most of you were born in India. You have better birth than me. No one had to explain to you who is Krishna, or what is an arati, what is Bhagavad Gita. From your birth, you understand arati and Gita and bhajan and bhakti. So you're a step ahead. So if I can do it, any of you can do it. Think of it that way.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. That's very helpful. If no one has another question, maybe I be permitted to ask a follow-up.
Maybe Jagadish Prabhu also has a question.
Okay, Prabhu.
Jagadish Prabhu, go ahead.
No, Amirdhan Prabhu, you can go ahead first, please.
Thank you, Prabhu. So, Prabhu, reading Bhagavatam as a discipline every day to read Bhagavatam, then it becomes mechanical. Something like chanting also. Taken a vow of doing at least 16 chant, but it's kind of offensive. It's not really attentive. And the same goes with Bhagavatam also, that you're reading Bhagavatam, but as you were mentioning, you should try to visualize it, engage all your senses in it. It's just reading, and whatever quota you set for yourself, you do it, and then it's done. So how can we develop that taste for reading Bhagavatam, Prabhu?
We need to be introspective. That if we think, if we go through the mental process of going deeper and deeper and deeper, then Bhagavatam becomes very exciting, because we understand that this is Krishna Leela. This Krishna Leela is my life after liberation. That we enter into Bhagavatam. We participate in Bhagavatam. We see, we participate in Govardhan Leela. We participate in Sakhya Ras or Madhurya Ras. That we enter into that. This is our future. But we have to remember, practice remembrance of what we've learned. And as you say, not being mechanical, because our tendency is to get into a rut in japa and in our study habits, our sadhana. It's very easy to get into a rut. But if we understand what is the prayojana, what is the objective, what is the potential of reading Bhagavatam, what is the potential of chanting Hare Krishna, what is the potential of all the different aspects of our sadhana, that becomes very exciting. That chaktva dehum punarjanma mameti, that we go back to Krishna. It's not a myth. It's within our grasp. In one lifetime, it's within our grasp. And that's exciting. If I think like that, that's very exciting for me. So, other thing is this, that there's a verse about chanting Harinam, Namaparada Yuktanam Naman Namanyeva Harantyagam Adishranti Payuktani Tamivarti Karanicha. That in the beginning we make offenses to the holy name. But what other salvation do we have but the holy name? So Namaparada Yuktanam, in the beginning we make offenses, Namarantya Harantyagam Avishranti Prayuktani. By continual chanting, we become free from offenses to the holy name. Example is given. Bhumaus kalitapananam bhumirivavalambanam tvayi chata paradanam tameva sharanam prabho. This means that if a person is walking on the land and he trips, what other shelter does he have but the land? If you want to walk, you have to get up and you continue walking even though you tripped. So in the same way, devotee prays, I make offenses to you. Aparada sahasrani kriyanti harni shama. Day and night I make thousands of offenses, but I have no other shelter but you. So considering me your devotee, please accept my little service. So we offend Krishna, but we have no other shelter but Krishna. So you keep going on the spiritual life and pray for a better day. Continue with your sadhana, because there's no other means of deliverance. If you give up thinking, what is the use? Because this is the thing, we lose attraction for sadhana because of sense gratification. But that sense gratification is not as dangerous as the guilt associated with sense gratification. Because if you become overwhelmed with guilt, you think, what is the use? I can't do this. I'm a bad devotee. I give up. Don't ever go there. I'm a bad devotee, but I can be a better devotee. That pure devotional service is within my grasp in this lifetime if I keep doing what I'm doing every day. We should have that much determination. And if we appreciate what is available, what is the potential of Krishna Bhakti, what is the potential of my daily sadhana, we can be very excited about that. I can leave this world and enter Krishna Leela. Krishna's waiting. We should think, Krishna is waiting for me. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was saying, Jeev Jago, Gora Changa Bole, Kota Nidya Jao Maya Pishachir. How long will you sleep in the lap of the witch called mind? How long? How long? Krishna is waiting for us. And if we can bring our mind to that understanding, then sadhana becomes exciting. We have some motivation to understand the prayojana, the goal, the objective of sadhana. It becomes exciting. In this lifetime, we can go back to God. One of my godbrothers, this is a beautiful story. His name is Rajendra Nandan, and we used to call him Raj. He left this world about 8 months ago now. He was diagnosed with stage incurable cancer. So he told the devotees, don't pray for my cure, pray for my successful transfer to the spiritual world. And in the last days and hours of his life, he told us, you cannot imagine the happiness I am experiencing. Who experiences happiness when death approaches? People are full of fear, they're full of lamentation, they're full of regret. Who experiences joy? Devotee does. He says, you can't imagine how much joy I'm experiencing. Because I can understand I'm leaving this material world once and for all. I'm never coming back. I'm going back to Godhead. And he left this world with a smile on his face and his hand in his bead bag. This is what's available for us. This is our prayojana. And if we understand that, sadhana becomes exciting. It becomes exciting. I can leave this world once and for all and go back to Godhead by doing what I'm doing. So we should think over this very carefully. I hope that helps you, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu, that was fantastic. Your instruction of think of it as your future. It's very nice, Prabhu. Thank you so much for that. Thank you.
See, our problem is we think just like a horse with blinders. There's this whole world of bhakti. We're thinking like this, oh, I woke up late today. I didn't get much japa done. I'm not feeling enlivened. I've got a cold. I've got work to do. So many problems are there in my life. We feel burdened. There's a big weight on my head. That's life. This is everyone experience. I experienced that. Getting up late for me means 3:30. I get up 2:30. I miss the first hour of my japa. And I've got a class to give. I have to prepare for class. There was a satsang program I had to go speak at today. It was a busy day. Somehow or other, I squeeze in my japa. I still have 3 rounds, actually. 3 rounds of japa. But this is what we call life. Some days you wake up, you feel happy, positive. You're enthusiastic about japa. You're enlivened to read and hear and chant and associate. And the next day, you can feel unhappy and sad and with a burden on your head. This is the play of the modes of material nature. We're not aloof from that. Prabhupada, nice story. Prabhupada was asked by one of my godbrothers. So we read this verse in Bhagavad Gita, Mam chayo vibhicharina bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samadhiktaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. That if we take the pure devotional service, we crossed over the modes of material nature. So we asked Prabhupada and said, Srila Prabhupada, this verse is there, but I don't feel very transcendental. I feel like I could fall any time. So how have I transcended the modes of material nature? Srila Prabhupada answered by giving an example. He said, bhakti is like a boat. The nature of a boat, because it's on the water, and sometimes you feel like you're going to fall out of the boat. But if you stay in the boat, you reach the other shore. So in our life, in our bhakti, sometimes we may feel I'm going to fall out of the boat, but just stay in the boat. Don't think if you dive in the ocean, you drown. If you stay in the boat, you reach the shore, even though the boat may wobble this way, it may You may think you're going to fall out of the boat. If you stay in the boat, you'll reach the other shore. So if you stay in bhakti, being the best devotee you can be in the circumstance of your own life, you will reach the other shore of going back to Godhead. Krishna is very, very kind. He wants us to go back, and he's taking us back to Godhead at the end of life, if we simply continue what we do every single day.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Jagadish Prabhu, go ahead. That will be the last question. Go ahead.
Prabhu, Dhanma Prabhu. Very nice explanation, Prabhu. I have one question, Prabhuji. We see you mentioned that in the bhakti, but we see now nowadays the working shift, the very busy and the most for work. So to having that kind of environment and become as serious in the bhakti, and both should go, because if we do the job and we with the job, if we don't put more hours, bhakti become less. If we don't put the more hours for the job, then that kind of environment, they need more reading kind of books also. Otherwise, not possible in the job also. So having that kind of things, and Prabhu, going that way, and how do we think that bhakti becomes serious, or the process going on?
Okay, very nice question, Prabhu. Bhakti is a haitukiya pratiyata. There's no material circumstance that can separate us from bhakti. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're a brahmachari, you live in the temple, and you have no responsibility. If you want to eat, all you have to do 3 times a day is sit down, and they put food in front of you, and you eat. You do a little service, no stress, happy life, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. You can become very lazy in this circumstance. Another devotee may be very, very stressed to complete his job assignment, his work responsibilities, to pay bills, to take care of family, insurance bill, electric bill, water bill, taxes, so much stress in material life. But he's thinking, Krishna, if I could only be closer to you, if I could only be in the temple and be with your devotees. Who is a better situated devotee? The devotee who is in anxiety to be with Krishna, to have better sadhana, is much better situated than a devotee who becomes lazy due to complacency, living in a temple atmosphere. Devotee may be offering arti, ding, 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 he's a pujari, and he may be thinking about making money. And a devotee is making money, he may be thinking about Krishna. Who is better? The devotee who's thinking about Krishna. So, work environment today means they're simply sucking your blood, frankly, to be blunt about it. They'll pay you just enough so you don't quit, and people want to work enough so they don't get fired. It's all based on exploitation. There's no love, there's no reciprocation, there's no friendship. It's all business. But where is your happiness? But we do that to maintain our ashram, because our ashram is a place where we worship Krishna. And by making money, we're serving Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, your children, your wife, you're paying your mortgage, you're paying mortgage on your ashram, on your temple. You've made your temple, your home a temple. You're worshiping the deity, you're chanting, you're reading, you're serving in your home. Home is a temple. So you're making money to pay your mortgage for your temple. You're serving Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. So we should Krishnaize our consciousness also, and adjust our schedule in such a way that we can spend quality time, maybe not be able to sit down for 2 hours straight and chant 16 rounds, or to sit down for an hour and peacefully read Bhagavatam. But bhakti is a haituki, a pratyata. You adjust your schedule however is possible to hear every day Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and to read a little bit Bhagavatam, and associate with devotees as you're able. Visit the temple at least once a week if you're able. And in this way, adjust our schedule. But there's nothing that can impede Krishna Bhakti. Even if you read the story of these Russian devotees, they were locked in jail, being tortured, being starved. They give them black bread and water. And these devotees took that bread, added a little water, made balls out of it, dried it, pierced it, and made japa mala with their food. So determined to practice Krishna consciousness in the most severe circumstances of life. They wrote a book about it called Salted Bread. You can read about the struggle of the Russian devotees. And what is it today? What is the result today? Mayapur is packed with Russian devotees. Vrindavan, you go to Vrindavan, Loy Bazaar, and they advertise in English language and Russian language. And the Kaprawalats there speak Russian language because they have so many Russian customers. They have festivals and 10,000 Russian devotees come to these festivals. But how did it start? With these devotees that made ultimate sacrifice. Some of them left their body. Ultimate sacrifice to preach Krishna consciousness, to practice Krishna consciousness, making japa mala out of their food. So we should have that determination to adjust our schedule somehow or other to complete our japa, somehow or other read Bhagavatam every day and make progress in spiritual life. So I hope that's helpful to you, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji, very nicely, yeah, very amazing, Prabhu.
And you're not going to be working your whole life. One day your kids are grown. They're going to say, thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad. It's been fun. They're done. They're situated in life. They're stable in life. They're married. They're on their own. And then you have more time. Then time to travel to holy places, time to spend time in temples, associate with devotees. You won't spend your whole life working, Prabhu. You should think, where do I want to be in my life in 20 years? Like an investment broker. They don't think 5 years down the road, 1 year down the road. They're thinking 20 years down the road, 30 years down the road. If you're 30, think, where do I want to be in my life when I'm 60? Because all of you, frankly speaking, are the future of Prabhupada's ISKCON. Because if you're 30, 40 years old, in 20 years, you're 60 or 70, and we're all gone. There's no more Prabhupada disciples in 20 years. I'm 70. And I can't expect to live another 10 years. Time goes very fast. Think down the road. Invest now in your future. And that investment is to hear Bhagavatam, practice sadhana, and become an asset to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement. Become a preacher of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement. Because the future of Prabhupada's ISKCON is in your hands. You are the future leaders of ISKCON. Every one of you. And you'll all be, I know, because you're all sincere devotees, you'll all be empowered in amazing ways to spread Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan mission and participate in amazing ways and contribute in amazing ways. So think down the road, where do I want to be in 20 years? Where do I want to be in 30 years? Not the struggles of my life today, but look to the future also. Make plans for a future, a wonderful future of Krishna consciousness and an eternal future in the kingdom of God.
Prabhu, can I add one more just to talk of that in the sequence of that? The Prabhupada writing many places like retirement age, make some plan. But practically nowadays the situation, that till 50 like a family, the responsibility is not done. So how to understand that, Prabhuji?
That's Western culture, because they just want to entangle you more and more in life. You get 30-year mortgage. If you buy a house when you're 30, then you're 60 before your mortgage is paid off. They just want to suck your blood more and more. Try and figure out some way to extricate yourself from the complexity of Western culture. What more could I retired when I was very fortunate. I retired when I was 56. And I'm living in Mayapur now. Somehow special mercy has come to me. I mean, when my Social Security payment wouldn't pay my rent for a month in most places in America. I'm living very comfortably in India. That's also an option. You can say, Garwapsi, come back to India also. That's also an option. There's tremendous preaching opportunities in India. There's great need for preaching in India because your country has become overwhelmed by Western materialistic culture, poisonous Western culture, where people are throwing away the most valuable thing, the greatest culture the greatest cultural heritage in the world, Bharatiya Sanskriti, and they're throwing it away like a piece of trash, like a piece of garbage. So there's tremendous preaching opportunities here in India. I just returned from a preaching tour in northern India. We went to Kurukshetra, Roorkee, Sonipat, Panipat, Chandigarh, Ludhiana, like all these big, in 1 month we did 100 programs, more than 100 programs in 1 month. There's so much preaching up, and I exhausted myself. I came back to Mayapur completely exhausted, but blissful, because there's so much opportunity to preach Krishna consciousness in India also. So make some plan to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and all blessing will come to you. In a nutshell, make some plan to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all blessing will come to you. There's a saying in English, some people can't see the forest because of the trees. You understand? Some people can't see the forest because of the trees. And what are the trees? They're the small problems in life, the obstacles in our life to be where we want to be. But the big picture, the forest, the big picture of our life is that we've come to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we can become empowered to serve in his Sankirtan mission. You made a beautiful temple in your area. There's thousands of other opportunities in America and hundreds of thousands of opportunities all over the world to do the same thing. And you are the people, you are the devotees that will be doing it. Who else is, we're all gone. There's no more Prabhupada disciples in 10 years, 15, 20 years maximum. Who is going to do it? You're going to do it. You will be empowered to do it. So plan your life in that way. I mean, we're not plan makers per se, because we understand Supreme Lord is a controller. But this is the paradox of life. Lord's a controller, but we try and plan to serve. How will we serve the Lord? So think in that way and get clarity that you won't spend your whole life working for somebody or doing a business or whatever it is you're doing, sitting in front of a computer writing code, whatever your life is. That won't go on forever. There's an end to it. That's my personal experience. Sometimes I was in jewelry business for 20 years. In Sonar, fixing jewelry, fixing watches, selling stones, selling jewelry. I thought, why me? Why is this? This isn't me. I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't made that sacrifice in my life. And now when I look back, there's meaning. I can understand the meaning of it now in my life. And I hope the same comes to you, that you retire as soon as possible and take up the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and preach Krishna consciousness all over the world, because that is the instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You know that very well. My brain's not working anymore. Bharata Bhumite Manushaharla Janma Satya Kare Paraparopakar, do Paropakar. Because you're all blessed. It's not, Prabhupada says, it's not ordinary to be born in India. It's extraordinary to be born in India. You're extraordinary people, and you have extraordinary contribution you can make to the world. So organize your life. Don't be sad. Organize as far as possible and look to the future, a wonderful future of Krishna consciousness.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for amazingly. That were the questions hitting my mind. Now I got the answer. Thank you.
Okay, good. I'm happy. May Srila Prabhupada bless you all. I know he's blessing you more. He said, grandfather is more merciful than the father. So I should ask your blessing on me, because you have so much mercy from Srila Prabhupada.
All glories to His grace, Sarva-drik Prabhu. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your association, the opportunity to speak to all of you. Vancha Kalpati Vishcha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you, everybody.
Quick announcements.
Thank you.
Quick announcements. Please join us today evening for Bhagavat Yajna on Bhadra Purnima, starting from 5:30. If you don't have Srimad Bhagavatam, please collect it from us And, we have all regional language. We have full of books of Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. So please take it in the evening today. Please contact us. You can check with your friends, relatives. Today is the day. Endeavor to get even more people to get connected to Srimad Bhagavatam. So see you all in the evening. So for Bhadrapurna, September 24th is coming up for Philadelphia Radhayatra, last Radhayatra in this area. And Kartik month is also coming up very soon, October 10th or so to November. So His Grace Amarendra Prabhu will be here. So please plan ahead. And today is the first day of Sunday school in the evening. So a lot of kids will be there. So please help in whatever areas you can. So Govindas is on. You can place your orders, govindasnj.com. So that's, and then we have ISKCON Disciple Course starting 2 weekends in September 25th. I think it's Friday and Sunday. And then following weekend, October 2nd or so, Saturday, Sunday. Please register if you are not completed disciple course. It's good, even if you are not ready for initiation yet, but it's important course to understand more details about the process and guru and disciple relationships and everything, all the 9 yards, how to behave, how to conduct ourselves. So thank you all. Those are the quick announcements. Madhupur, anything else?
No, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
See you all in the evening.
Hare
Conclude today's
Krishna.
session.
Thank
Thank you, Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare